You are now listening to FireWall Chats with the IT-ISAC. Today's guests are Ajay Barot, ISACA Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Business Development, and Shannon Donahue, ISACA Vice President of Content and Development Services. Today's discussion is focused on the work ISACA is doing to bridge the cybersecurity skills gap and how ISACA is adapting their own products and resources to address evolving cyber threats.
So on the hiring side, one of the challenges I hear frequently is human resources people don't always know how to hire out or how to evaluate the resumes that they're receiving. Is that a challenge that ISACA is seeing as well? And if so, is there a program in place or something that we can do to address that?
Yeah, maybe Shannon and I probably could both take this, but definitely I think that is an issue for hiring managers, especially as it relates to technical domains. And I believe that, I do feel like some of our learning and certification products and training, that products that we're actually looking to develop and take to market should help HR professionals ascertain, or for companies who do recruit, but they realize, because recruiting is a very costly endeavor, and once you invest in a resource, they might not be as skilled or as efficient in that technology, where they could potentially leverage some of our learning and certification products to ensure that their workforce or employees are up to speed and have the prerequisite skills. That's kind of, my perspective, and Shannon could definitely add to that.
Yeah, I'll give a little background on what we're seeing with our community. So on the survey report, we're seeing that only like 28% of respondents are feeling like HR frequently understands their hiring needs. And so, we have some work to do, because that means it could obviously contribute into why they're getting resumes that they don't feel are appropriate for the right job. And I think there's going to have to be a lot of communication, but I think, we're in a midst of transition as well, and that is in education. And so automatically, when people are creating job descriptions, they're, putting in there that they need a bachelor's degree or that they need an advanced degree. And I think, we're going to have some kind of realization that potentially you don't need these levels of education to do operational security or IT roles. That, these are paths that we can teach technical skills to people who may not want a 4-year degree. And I think, in America, at least, we've been so conditioned to require these college degrees for these jobs that we're not reaching the full potential of candidates that we could be reaching. And, I think I'm not really sure how to fix that, but, I think, again, like some of these partnerships, Scott, where industry and we're coming together to talk about these problems and how do we resolve these together, I think that's going to be extremely helpful.
Yeah, 100% agree with everything Shannon said. And I think that really ties to something is that, we do have a concerted effort to begin focusing on the learning and academic and workforce development market, because we recognize this particular issue within the market. So we will be looking to forge over the next 1 to 3 years, a lot of relationships with workforce development agencies and academic institutions on their workforce development side or continuing ed side to put together academic programs that integrate our learning and certification programs into their curriculum to help resolve some of these issues.
Yeah, so that's great. And I think it relates to the other question I had that Shannon spurred in my mind, which is when she was talking about the need to help some of these technical experts develop business acumen and translate their knowledge into the business processes, business understanding. And where we've been talking a lot about this within the IT-ISAC and our membership, discussing how we translate what the security teams do into values to the organization, right? How it matches the mission of the business, and talking about, trying to help the senior leaders in an organization understand what the risks are, in a way that's not extremely technical, to understand the business risks as opposed to the technical risks. So is there an initiative underway within ISACA to help people address this, or how do we do better at making these helping these technical people translate their knowledge into business?
One thing one area that we're trying to do as it relates specifically to our member community is, and some of it got a little bit sidestepped because of COVID, but we were looking to form relationships with, for example, Northwestern University on soft skills training, for management training for our members. Because one thing that we heard as we spoke to our members, IT now is having more and more of a prevalent role in boardrooms and senior management discussions, because everything revolves around IT, where we were putting together a 1 week on-site training package through Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management to help our member community develop the relevant soft skills that better equip them. And then through our One in Tech Foundation, there are things that we're doing there around soft skills and training as well. So.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's really important, especially as we're trying to get career progressions for these technical professionals to try and help them advance their careers. A lot of people are happy to be in the technical world. There's some want to become managers and advance in business as well. So it's really important from a career perspective as well.
Yeah, can I say one more thing about that?
Yes,
I think too, Scott, you're touching on some learning paths that we would really like to be able to identify for people who are coming in, and then being able to show them a variety of future possibilities and provide that training and help them along that journey. I think also though, when you're talking about being able to show executives the meanings of either the threats and risk that is sitting on their horizon, or understanding the objectives of the security practitioner, I do think sometimes we need to look and say, okay, we as security professionals are going to need to be more flexible in some of this, right? They don't understand all the time all of the technical risk, threat, vulnerabilities, and the landscape. And so we need to put that into concise language for them to understand. And I think, any way that you can work on quantifying some of that risk and explaining it to them in business terms is good. And I think being able to use governance and risk management frameworks to help you do that and align everything that you're doing with the organizational objectives will help them to see that your program is there to support their strategy and their needs. And then you can very specifically talk about, what will this do to reputation, or what will this do to our customer base, or what does this do to our financial situation, and that they will understand.
Yeah, sure. So there's quantifying risks, right? But then there's also the metrics. Yeah, how do you measure whether you're bringing the risk down, right? So that's another challenge that the community faces. Before we run out of time here, we've spoken offline a little bit about how the threat has changed in the cybersecurity over the years. But one of those really high profile areas that we're talking about today, obviously, is supply chain security, but there's also ransomware, right? There's before the SolarWinds attacks became public and kind of dominated discussions about supply chain security, there was a lot of people were raising the alarms about ransomware. And obviously, I think in the industry we need to walk and chew gum at the same time, right? Supply chain security really is a something that we need to pay attention to, but we can't ignore the ransomware threat either. So, are either of you able to talk a little bit about how ISACA is working to ensure that the community can address these multiple risks at the same time, and specifically anything that you all are doing on ransomware?
We are constantly updating the library of technical training to include the latest exploits, threats, vulnerabilities, and help people understand how to resolve those. Okay. We know that ransomware is a threat. We have been issuing white papers on ransomware. There's been tons of guidance within our ISACA journal on ransomware. We did do actually some labs based on ransomware, and they are in our Nexus portfolio right now. So people can access all of that training, whether it's knowledge-based or lab-based. We also work closely with security experts globally to see what is happening. And we do collect data through like our state of cybersecurity survey. So when we understand exactly what's happening to people, then we can quickly respond by building new solutions for them to train. Some of these problems, they might be coming in a new way, but some of the basics that people might not have time to do would fix a lot of this. Patch management, right? Policy management, really good awareness training. You know, we really need to look at what are our fundamentals and how do we ensure that we have a solid base.
You know, something we talk about frequently with people, which is, of course, a well-resourced, determined adversary funded by a nation state, they're going to get into a network, right? However, that doesn't mean you can't do the fundamentals to prevent other attacks from happening, right? You can't say, oh, the nation state's going to get in my network no matter what I do. So let's let the routine threats come in to your network as well, right? So you can't ignore what's out there, but you have to also be realistic in what you can defend against, given the resources you have, and be prepared that you will be breached, right? So you need a way to identify, you need a response plan, you need a way to communicate, and you need a way to mitigate, and of course you need a way to recover and reconstitute so you can continue your operations. So I think we're really running out of time now for sure. It's been a great conversation. There's lots of great work that the ISACA team is doing. So I appreciate AJ and Shannon, you're sharing some of this with us. AJ, if people are interested in learning more about ISACA and your work, where can they go?
Absolutely. They can go to isaca.org, or they can follow us on social media on LinkedIn and at ISACA News, at ISACA News on Twitter, and follow us on Facebook at ISACA Global.
Yeah, super. Thank you. So we're connected with you on social media. We appreciate the posts and the partnership between our organizations. It's been great so far. We're just in the early stages of it, and we look forward to doing more with you together. So thank you both for spending time with us today, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of FireWall Chats. If you enjoyed today's discussion, you can find more FireWall Chats episodes on our channel, or you can visit www.it-isac.org.